Sometimes African leaders make me believe that African politicians and African puppets, they now make me believe on the say that says an empty debe removes a lot of noise. Because these people talk too much. Like they talk. If it's about talking, they talk like they'll never talk again. But when it comes to work, they don't even work. They talk too much. But implementing, doing it, putting it in action has ever been a bigger problem to them. Talking, they talk. They talk. They make noise all over. I will do this, I will do this, I will buy you cars, I will buy everybody laptops, I will put Wi-Fi free, I'll build roads, I'll build schools, I'll build hospitals, I will give you free air, I will now make sure you are now using, like you have wings, you will now start flying when you're going somewhere, you'll not need to use cars, you will have cars that does not use fuel. They give us a lot of promises. I will raise the nation, you will live almost close to heaven. I will create a way to heaven. I will, like, these people do a lot of things. They speak a lot of things. But at the end of the day, they do less. Have you people ever heard President William Ruto speaking? He speaks like Ibrahim Traore. He speaks like Ibrahim Traore, exactly. The anger, the voice, the seriousness. But when it comes to work, he works nothing. He does not work anything. I want you to listen at them speaking. All these puppets we're talking about, Tinubu and every other African presidents who are puppets, they speak too much. They do very less. And I really don't know what is the problem with them. When William Ruto took over the government, he spoke, he said Africa should be an independent continent where we cannot be summoned by other leaders of other states, all of us. We cannot be directed. We cannot be imposed rules on. We have to say no to it and we have to have our stand. A few days later, a few moments later, we are seeing him in the United States of America with Joe Biden, trying to make friendship and trying to see how he can be able to borrow some money. A few days later to the IMF, a few days later to the World Bank. Like, that is what he has always been doing. And he always does this after speaking and convincing people that he is a guy who wants to bring a change. Does he bring a change? He doesn't. He does not do that. So he has spoken something today. I want you to listen to it. You would think he's an angel, but he's not. That's not what we want from African leaders and from African puppets. Turn around, start doing what is right. That's what we want. We love you, but we don't love your character. We don't love your behavior. We don't love how you do things. You should turn around and start doing what is right, because that is what we want. Say and do. Stop preaching wine and drinking water. Stop preaching water and drinking wine. If you want to drink wine, preach wine. If you want to drink water, preach water. Stop being hypocrites, because when you're being hypocrites, you're taking Africa back. We're trying to move on, you're taking us back. We're trying to move on, you're pulling us back. Ibrahim Traore comes, tries to pull us forward, to push us forward, you're pulling us back. Stop it. It's a bad character, it's a bad behavior. It is something that African people, we are very much against it. Stop pulling us back. Listen to what President William Ruto said.
Your Excellency, President Tebboune, President of Algeria and Chair of APRM, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, representatives of Africa Peer Review Mechanism, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, the United Nations Commission for Africa, ladies and gentlemen. The time has come to rewrite our history and reclaim our narrative. and charge the African Renaissance forward. Esteemed colleagues, our urgent calling is to fulfill our duty to Africa's people and ensure that our continent takes its rightful place in shaping global progress in its full capacity and potential, both as a people and as countries. That is why we are gathered here today. Africa's economic potential is hamstrung by a financial system that misrepresents, distorts, and understates our reality. Global credit rating agencies have not only dealt a bad hand, they have also deliberately failed Africa. They rely on flawed models, distorted and outdated assumptions, and systemic bias, painting an unfair picture of our economies and leading to distorted ratings, exaggerated risks, and unjustifiably high borrowing costs. Let me say this again. Global credit rating agencies have let us down. They continue to rely on very flawed models and outdated assumptions. And the whole system is also biased. The result is that they paint a very unfair picture of our economies, and this has devastating effects because it leads to distorted ratings of what the situation really is. And it also leads to exaggerated risk of our countries and our continent, and obviously that leads to very high borrowing costs. These prejudice assessments come at an enormous cost to Africa. They deter investment, distort global trade, and derail progress towards sustainable development goals. By misjudging Africa, these agencies deny opportunities to investors and economies and deprive nations of prosperity. The numbers tell a damning story. The Africa Peer Review Mechanism and the United Nations Development Program place the cost of biased credit rating at a staggering $75 billion in lost opportunities. In a continent abundant with natural wealth, vast arable land, billions in diaspora remittances, and the world's largest carbon sinks, credit rating agencies have delivered 94% of all downgrades in the past decade, while arbitrarily designating only 2 African nations as investment grade. We must be bold and call this for what it is: a financial straitjacket imposed on Africa. A system that punishes our economies while rewarding others, even when the fundamentals are comparable, in some cases even better. Excellencies, the foundations of global finance are supposed to be anchored on principles of fairness, transparency, and merit. Yet, these principles are disregarded when it applies to Africa. Africa will no longer accept to be misjudged by scales that overlook our reality. The winds of change are blowing, And our march forward is as unstoppable as it is relentless. An African credit rating agency is not just an alternative. It is, in my opinion, an imperative. This agency must be globally credible and backed by rigorous, credible data and driven by high reporting standards. But more importantly, it must reflect Africa's reality correctly. We will not walk this journey alone. We will build alliances east, west, and north, grounded in shared values of dignity, equity, and progress. We will hold rating agencies to account and demand accurate standards. We will leverage the experience and expertise of Pan-African credit rating, strengthening their capabilities and expanding their reach. The potential impact is profound. Research shows that a one-level improvement in Africa's average credit rating would unlock US $15 billion in additional funding. This alone would outstrip official development assistance and meet some of the critical aspects of Africa's infrastructure needs. The opportunity is within our grasp and we must seize it. I want to emphasize that this agency will complement international credit rating agencies by filling in data and analytics